Alright, hello. So the purpose of this video is to show off my Java project. In this case, I'm sure you can tell by the screen that it is a game of whack-a-mole. Now, before I get into any more details, I think it's best to show the game run first and foremost, because I think for any program, the thing that's most important is that it runs. So when you run the program, the first thing that will happen is a window will open up full screen showing you whack-a-mole, telling you to click on the moles to score points and to score 1,000 points to win. A nice button that says begin. Upon clicking said button, the game will start. And like any game of whack-a-mole, you have your moles that will move around frantically. And the whole point of any game of whack-a-mole is to press on the moles. In this case, because it's on a computer, the whole point is to click on the moles. And so doing so will earn you points. As you can see, each mole will give you 100 points for every time you click it. So in order to beat this game, you have to click on a total of 10 moles, which I will try and do for you right now. It can be a little tricky. I mean, that's the point of any game of whack-a-mole. So here we go, just 2 more moles, and there you go. Upon clicking on 10 moles, you get this screen here confirming that you win. So if you want to try again, there's this nice little retry button here in the corner. You press it, and then immediately it'll throw you into another game of whack-a-mole. In which case, click on another 10 moles, get another 1,000 points, and you will be taken to. Let me see if I can get it real quick. Like I said, it can be a little tricky sometimes. Just when you get there is when they decide to move again. One more. There you go. So you beat it again. Every time you beat it, it will take you to the same screen, and retrying will take you back to the game immediately. And so the point is just to show that it'll loop, and you can play it again over and over again until you get bored or you've had enough. So that's the game. The game works. The game runs. Perfect. So now here is the design of the game, or the design mode in NetBeans, in which I've basically thrown together all the assets of the game. Now, one thing I'm sure you've noticed is that the victory screen and everything here is all visible, and it is part of this neat little trick that I've been using. That will be explained in the source code. But for right now, as you can see, here are all the assets that I used. I used the 3 moles, which I'm sure you noticed immediately, are just Diglets from Pokemon. With this one right here, with the blue nose being a shiny Diglett. That being said, I think it's time to actually get into the technical aspect of it and explain the actual code that goes into my nice little game of whack-a-mole here. So, for starters, I have imported everything I needed in order to make the game, in order to make the code run. And then we start here with my public class extending JavaX swing JFrame, right? In which case I use this here, this public class here, whack-a-mole JFrame, and this is the code that actually makes the window maximized. This is what makes it so that it's full screen upon starting the window, or upon starting the game, I mean. So that explains the window. Here, generate a little timer, and this timer is what actually allows the moles to dance around the screen, right? If it wasn't for this timer, then the moles would simply just stay in one spot. Every time this timer ticks is when the mole moves. How the moles move to a different spot is explained by this right here, this action performed. I start by creating random variable or random variables that are given random values, and I assign to them integer variables x, y, x2, y2, x3, y3, which each x and y going to their respective mole. So x and y going to mole 1, x2, y2 going to mole 2, and x3 and y3 going to mole 3. I'm sure you've also noticed here they have different x and y values. They're not exactly the same. And the reason why is because doing so would help minimize the chance that the moles would basically overlap one another. Because while yes, they do have random integers, there is still a very good likelihood that if they were given the same possible x positions and the same possible y positions, that they would kind of tend to overlap one another. And so, in order to minimize that possibility, I would give them different x and y values. I'm sure you noticed in the game there were some moments where the moles did indeed overlap, but I found that when I gave them the same x and y values, that overlapping would happen a lot more, which is pretty jarring. It looks weird. And so, in order to try and circumvent that, I tried to lower said x and y ranges, or at least differentiate them between the three moles. And so, that being said, here is the actual code that allows the moles to change positions. This is what gives them their x and y values. So, this whole thing explains the mole's behavior. That being said, go down here to form window opened. Now, this is when the program first runs. When the window opens, this is what runs. When the window opens, the timer starts. That also being said, I hide the J label, the third J label. I take away the text, and I basically turn this label into my background. One of the things about my program here, which I'm sure you noticed, is that it all shares the same label. Everything that you see is on top of this one background label. And the only thing that changes is that certain actions will hide certain assets or it will make them appear. Like the score, like the retry button or the begin button, they all basically turn invisible. There is no real change in screen. It's just more so certain things get hidden and certain things get revealed at certain points in the program. So as you can see, when the form window opens, when the program starts, the victory text becomes empty. The text that says you win, it gets taken away. The moles are hidden. That's what these three J buttons are. The moles, they get hidden. The retry button, which is what J button 3 is, it gets hidden. And then you have, this is the begin button. The begin button is revealed, it's set to true. And these two J labels are the score. One is the score, and one is the actual text that says score. Those labels get hidden. This is when the window opens. And so then here we go. This is more J button 1. These are the moles, J buttons. This is more mole behavior. Basically, this tells the program that when the mole gets clicked, to change the J label, change J label 1. And this is the score. Basically, this tells the program that when the mole gets clicked, to change the score text. In this case, the actual score itself is set to integer z, and when the mole gets clicked, integer z goes up by 100. And I have it set here. I'm sure you noticed that I have it set here that z equals 900. That it changes a bunch of things, including setting the victory text to actually pop out. Now, I'm not entirely sure why this happens, but I'm sure you noticed in the program it says to score 1,000 points. Yet here I have it so that the moles only go up to 900. I'm not entirely sure why, but the program doesn't really read it perfectly, despite the fact that it has it set to 900. It'll only go through like this whole if statement will actually only go through when it goes to 1,000. I'm not 100. I'm not entirely sure, but I basically worked around it. I integrated that into my program. All the moles work like this. Every mole, all three moles share the same behavior. So it's not like one of the moles is going to give you the victory earlier than the other. So I didn't have to worry about that. Even though it's an oddity, it is constant. It's a constant oddity that I just simply worked around. That being said, once you score the 1,000 points, which is basically what this whole if statement for the moles do. Once you score 1,000 points, it hides J labels 1 and 2, which is the score and the score number that hides the score and the score number. The moles get hidden. The victory text appears telling you that you win, and the retry button pops up in the corner letting you try again. So this just goes to further show the idea that what you see in the game is actually taking place on top of one big label. And so the only thing that's really happening is that certain things are being hidden while other things are being showed, which I do find kind of satisfying. I'm not gonna lie, because it's the idea that everything is there. Everything that you see in the design mode, like all this is there. It's just being hidden, or it's also being revealed at certain aspects or certain times of the program. So down here, J button 2, this is the second mole. This is another mole behavior. Same thing as J button 1, or same thing as the other mole. J button 3, this is the, if I remember correctly, this is the retry button. So once again, you press retry, reveals the moles, reveals the score labels, resets the score labels back to 0 so that you can try again, and it hides the retry button. So you click the retry button, it hides itself, and it reveals everything else, basically starting the game all over again. Like I said, hides into the idea that everything is there, only that certain things are visible at certain times of the program. JText field 1, if I remember correctly, I actually don't remember. Let me see, what was JText field 1? I believe it's just the titles. Yeah, both text fields are just the titles. They don't do anything. I have them set there to design. They're basically gonna look the same way no matter what. Nothing's gonna happen to them, so I don't have anything here because the text field itself doesn't do anything. Instead, what actually happens is that the text fields get manipulated by other aspects of the code. So again, like the text field, for example, J button 4, this is the begin button. I know crazy that I would make the retry button first before I made the begin button, but it is what it is. So you press the begin button, moles get shown, a retry button gets hidden. No, yeah. So you press the begin button, moles get shown, the retry button gets hidden. These are the scores. This is the retry, and this is a retry right here. Oh no, hold on, I'm getting lost. So you press begin, show the moles, hides the retry button, hide the retry button, or the begin button. Oh my goodness, I'm getting so lost. Oh my, this tends to happen. Oh my god, I'm getting lost. So you press begin, shows the moles, it hides the begin button, it hides itself, and then it sets the scores to be visible. This is what sets the score to be visible, and this is what hides the texts, the ones that say whack-a-mole. The click on the moles to score points. It hides that. And so then this is J button 5. This is the third mole right here. I added the third mole at the end because I felt like two moles weren't enough. I didn't feel like they were engaging or that all that difficult. So I thought like adding a third mole would really stimulate you visually in order to see just a bunch of things dancing around. I think it made it a little bit easier, but I think it makes it visually a little more intimidating. So that being said, this is what runs the actual program, and then this cannot be modified. That is about it. That explains the actual ins and outs of my little whack-a-mole program here. Well, think that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. So that explains my whack-a-mole program. I hope you guys enjoyed my little explanation, even though it was a little bit awkward. I did manage to get it through in the end. It's a nice little simple program, and I do find satisfaction in the idea that I managed to basically play a game of show and tell with this thing. That was nice, and I hope you all enjoyed.